I was in Los Angeles. I moved there in 1979. The first cases of HIV was 1981, and I remember very vividly when that started to occur and my reaction to it, which was fear.
Where were you during the first reported HIV case?
Not alive. I was born in 1991. I'm young.
I do remember Ryan White, and I do remember talking about it in 4th grade. I didn't really understand it.
I also lost an aunt to AIDS when I was younger. It was actually my first experience hearing the word AIDS or HIV.
I want to say it was like a Phil Donahue show or something in the 80s, but my actual first memory was I was a senior in high school. Oh, and Phil Donahue was on, that's why. And my mom was behind me ironing, and I was just starting to come out, like just that idea of my sexuality being obvious and my sexual energy coming forward. And I just remember my mom ironing, putting the iron down and saying, I don't care what you do as long as you're safe. And that was my first memory of actual how AIDS and HIV affected me.
I automatically assumed that because I was queer that I was going to end up being HIV positive. You know, my birth mother said the same thing. She said, you know, I don't want you. I don't want someone who's that way. You're gonna die of AIDS. And then she hung up the phone on me.
For decades, I, for business reasons, did not get involved in anything that was associated with gay life. I was afraid of how it would impact my career.
I think of all of these young people who passed away before AIDS had a name.
When I was living in Paris in January of 2009, I was diagnosed HIV positive.
At 17 years old, being diagnosed with HIV, I thought my life was over. I really thought I was gonna die. I never thought I would live past 30s.
I didn't realize until later that with medication and everything, you could live a normal, healthy life. AIDS LifeCycle is important to me because I knew they raised all this money for HIV services in LA and San Francisco. But after joining the ride, I also realized that they do a lot to fight the stigma around HIV.
I was not a cyclist beforehand. I don't know the last time I had been on a bike.
So I used to be a couch potato.
One of the things that I am so proud of being associated with AIDS LifeCycle Ride is that it gives a purpose and a motivation to get past those difficult moments.
The ride is important personally because well, I am HIV positive. As a straight Asian woman, there was no one else who I knew in my community who was HIV positive. To be surrounded by a lot of people, I mean, there are over 2,000 riders and over 500 roadies, so there were a lot of people who had personal stories of why they were riding, and they were openly sharing it. That was new to me. I actually didn't come out to anyone about my status, not until my 3rd ride. It just took a long time. I chose to be surrounded by that community, and over time, I started feeling more comfortable with my status.
I met this guy who was coming out to his parents about his HIV status. And it's amazing how all of this worked, because that inspired me to finally come out to my mother this year as an HIV positive.
The second reason why AIDS LifeCycle is important to me as a community, I love what it promotes. I love the bonds that are formed, and I feel like it brings out the best in people.
My favorite thing on the ride was my mom was a roadie.
Did you guys tent together?
No, God no. God no.
I actually have thought about asking my dad to do it.
Yeah.
Because he used to be a cyclist.
Oh, okay.
Might.
Yeah, just plant the seed.
You're like, hey, do this thing, ride a bike. But when you're like straight parents who like want to connect to their gay kids, and they're like, oh, I have something to connect with you on. Yeah, and it's interesting to see, just like because I'm recently out in as much as like the past few years, when I wasn't a part of any sort of queer community, I didn't know any of what was going on with like AIDS and HIV.
How have you kind of tackled that?
Interacting with men who are older than me in their 40s and 50s who have a wealth of knowledge about being gay and living through the AIDS crisis.
That's one of the things I loved about being on the ride, was having like so much intergenerational knowledge shared, and I feel like I can't stage just learn something new every day, and it was just such an inspiring experience to be around so many people who come to do this ride for like a variety of reasons, but at the end of the day, it's all about raising support and raising money for these two great organizations to continue the fight against HIV/AIDS.
I have made a choice on my own that I'm not gonna be ashamed of who I am and what I have from being an immigrant and HIV positive. It embottens me to just be visible, you know, and then like, you never know when you're gonna touch some immigrant kid who came here at 16 years old and is struggling, being homeless, being HIV positive.
I love that you didn't say, and I'm a gay man. Like, that wasn't even in the list of things, that it was just like all these other things. And I was like, and a gay man. Like, no, it's at a point where like, it doesn't even need to be an issue in our lives.
When I found out I was HIV positive, I went to my first clinic. I felt a little out of place because I didn't feel like I was in that demographic. I still felt alone as a straight female. From all the years I rode, I don't think I've met another straight female who has come out as HIV positive. So not even just Asian, but a straight female.
You know, people said really mean things to me early on, like just, you know, call me disgusting or you're gonna die of AIDS, blah, blah, blah.
It hurts my heart to hear that people said that to you.
It's okay. And you know, people say hateful things other than HIV, and that's all. Sorry. No, I understand that it comes from a place of fear and a lack of education. I think I've grown into like a more confident person because of it.
So we are Bikes Not Binaries. It's the very first all trans and gender nonconforming team. Right now there are 5 of us. We're really looking to create more awareness of the transgender community in the conversations around HIV/AIDS.
I do think there's a lack of knowledge of history in a younger generation. I don't think that's all about ignorance.
There's kind of not an immediate need to talk about it. There's no urgency in it anymore. We take PrEP, we're undetectable, and we move on with our lives. And we forget that, you know, that's really not the case in the rest of the planet. So sometimes we might feel like we live in a post-HIV/AIDS, but that's just because we're sitting in a very comfortable place and not being really conscious of more of a global scale.
You don't know that in parts of the South, people have no access to drugs that are on the market.
As you've watched, you know, the epidemic kind of evolve from its, you know, the very beginning to now, what have you seen as, you know, being necessary today, or what do you see as still needing to happen today?
Well, I think there's a lot of progress that has been made thanks to AIDS LifeCycle, not only in terms of the exposure to the world. People need to understand that folks that are HIV positive are not a threat to their life.
To the older generations, I would say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the government failed you. I'm sorry that your president failed you. Thank you for everything that you have taught me. Thank you for leaving a legacy, even if you're not here. And thank you for everything you continue to teach us.
I think very simply what I would say to an older generation is thank you.
An AIDS-free world is smarter, it is funnier, it is more beautiful, it is more full of love. I'd like to imagine that when I leave the ride, I take some of that love with me and pass it around.
When I think about all the people who helped me and got me through those early years where I was so afraid and I felt very alone, I finally got to a place where I was physically healthy and I wanted to do something that can help the next person who was going to be in the same place I was in. So that's why services from the San Francisco AIDS Foundation and the Los Angeles LGBT Center are really important. These places help people just like me, people who are scared. They gave me a safe place so that I would return. It's just about getting healthy.